Welcome back to Kaidu Rider, where my bike is looking a little more stock than normal. If you see the stock exhaust, the stock mirrors, no cruise control switch. There is a reason. If you've been following with my Norden 901 video, if you've been following my Honda series, I'm itching for a new bike, and this bike deserves a send-off. Let's hop on the road and let's talk about why I got this bike, why I'm getting rid of this bike, and why you should not make investments based on the strong opinions of YouTubers. To the street.
I also made a Facebook page for the channel.
And welcome to the street. We're not quite in the exciting part of the ride yet, but we're in the part where I can focus a bit to get out the thoughts that I need. We are heading up to Okutama for one last time on this bike. Quick thing you're gonna notice, and you'll notice from now on, is there's no Gengar or Dragonite right here accidentally stuck to my speedometer. I'm definitely not covering crimes or anything. But I switched to gaffer tape because gaffer tape is just more consistent. The suction cups have failed in the past, so I've had to go back and get them. One time I went back and it put me through a speed trap, so this gaffer tape fell off my hand and got stuck right there. I can't safely remove it while driving. So this bike is going to go. You'll notice certain things are gone. The cruise control's gone, the mirror's gone, like I showed the exhaust. Those parts aren't gone as of the making of this video. Those parts are sitting in my closet, neatly cleaned and packaged, and if you want them, linked below are all the for sale Mercari links. If you're in Japan and you want them, you can buy them there. If you don't like the price, by all means, make an offer, but don't be an a-hole. Remember that I've got to feed my kid with that money and sponsor the next bike with that money. If you want this bike, I will sell this direct. Because if I sell this direct to you, you know that I am a former Yamaha mechanic. You still have almost 2 years of an unlimited kilometer warranty from Yamaha. That's my shameless plug. But if you want it, head over to my Instagram, Kaidu Rider, and send me a private message and see if we can work something out. I will sell it to you cheaper than a dealer will, but you will pay me more than I'll get from a dealer. So we're both winners. Let's move on. I'm gonna close off and we're gonna head to some nicer roads. Till then, toodles, because there is a cop right up there and I am not gonna get silly. And we're back on better roads, but there's the cop. Here's the cement truck. Everyone's going the same direction, but that's maybe a great place to start my points. I have a new friend who is convincing me that I should try off-road. Adventure bikes are better bikes to ride as far as comfort and distance and all that. Part of the reason he wants to remind me that off-road is great, no traffic, no cops, none of the hassles of a public road, like around this corner. If I wasn't following this truck at their speed, is there a cyclist? Later up the road, is there a monkey? Is there a gravel pit where I'm leaned all the way over trying to get my knee down? Those risks, those dangers to my license just disappear off-road. That's a big thing, is I just want a different style bike. And I guess I'll switch that into why did I get this bike in the first place? Now you can see this video why I sold my Tracer, this video why I bought this bike. Fun fact, it's April 2nd, 2024. There is still no Hornet in Japan, and there is no note of the Hornet coming to Japan. I know you might be confused. Isn't the Hornet made in Japan? Sure is. Isn't the black and gray Transalp painted in Japan? Sure is. Aren't all the Africa Twins made in Japan? Sure are. Can't have most of them? Absolutely. That's a thing Japanese makers do. If you live here, you already knew that. I originally got this bike because of my daughter. I got it because we needed some extra money, because let's say Yamaha doesn't pay the best, and I wanted to self-fund my parent leave because Yamaha didn't necessarily think I needed to take it. Maybe just my dealer, maybe whatever, not to whinge, but I sold the Tracer to pay for my child's birth and have some extra scratch. I'm now selling this bike for a very similar reason. My daughter just turned 8 months old. I love her very much. We are very stressed in Tokyo, and there are issues. We live in a nice part of Tokyo. We found an affordable place in a nice area, but it can be a bit cold. People can be a bit unfriendly. People can stare a bit. I know someone's going to say, that's cities. That's just Japan. No, it's not. We've lived in Osaka. We visited Osaka with the kid. It's not like that there. Osaka has its other issues, but it's not like that there. Not everywhere in Tokyo is like that. We're kind of over the city a bit. You move to a city for job opportunities. You move to Tokyo for more and better job opportunities. But all the jobs I've worked, my worst paying jobs were all in Tokyo. My worst work-life balance jobs were all in Tokyo. So moving out of Tokyo, I will have the same opportunities. I'm applying in similar fields to what I do, and I'm finding jobs that are not in Tokyo, or at least not in Tokyo City. We're still in the Kanto region, but the cost of moving is about the same as what I'm trying to sell this bike for. I bought this bike for my daughter. I'm selling this bike for my daughter. I'm doing the same scheme. I'll sell this for cash and finance the next bike. But what's the other reason I bought this bike? I bought this bike because there were issues I had with the Tracer. It is such a fast and revvy triple engine that just says, let's go faster, let's go faster, let's go faster. If you compare it to a Yamaha Super Sport, which I've ridden many, it has the power slightly more than an R1. And it doesn't weigh that much more. And I shaved quite a bit of weight off mine. It has significantly more torque and more immediate torque than an R1. But it doesn't have the performance of an R1 in the sense of how you can lean and the brakes and all that. But as far as get yourself in trouble, fly off the side of a mountain, even if I'm trying to be responsible, it just said, come on, let's go, let's go, let's run, let's go. And I did. I mean, I was on the edge so many times. So I figured I needed to sell it to get something a little more mature, a little more reasonable, a little more cost effective, and I ended up with this. But the power to weight, this really isn't slower. What this is more capable of a sport bike, more likely to get me in trouble, because on the same road, all I did was say, this can lean better, this can turn in better, this didn't have as nice brakes, but this has EBC brakes. It didn't have better suspension to hold you up, which it now does. And what that all did was, it helped me go even faster without traction. I have slipped this bike more times than any bike I've had, in a controlled way. You know, you could argue it's been safe. This is definitely a me problem, but this bike encourages me to do that. I don't know who's buying an R6 to not ride like that when the cop stops looking. At first I was like, yeah, the comfort difference is worth it for the this, that, and the other thing, and it's not. I wish the Tracer 7 had been sold in Japan. It's not. There's tons of Yamahas not sold in Japan. If you want a Tenere that's not the stock basic standard, if you want any of the other Teneres, too bad. Tenere waited 4 years. Another video for another time, but I'm not buying a Yamaha after this for a while. I didn't get a safer bike. I just got a different bike. And I got a bike that encourages me to scratch the peg right there. The point being, it's a very capable bike. It's more capable than my maturity level. And let's see what these sport bikes do out of sight of the cop. Well, they're all getting knees out. They're really getting knees out. But they're going slow. That's how I'm keeping up. Slowly. This being the smallest bike I've had more speeding tickets on this bike than every bike I've owned. I've never gotten a point on my license before this bike. This bike has convinced me that I need AAA riding gear, when really I should be riding in a way that I don't. This bike has had more close calls than any bike I've had, because again, not the bike, the rider on the bike is not mature enough. If I end up getting the KTM, perhaps a KTM is not the bike of maturity. I would like to be able to tour more. That's what I've realized. In Tokyo, on a sport bike, riding it like a sport bike, I'm on pretty much the only road where traffic is low enough that you can actually get away with using even just a 700 for what it is. And you go to the same road every time you ride, it's just like, why am I riding? But if I get a bike like the adventure bikes I'm considering, the distances that I can do, the range that I can fulfill is better for me. I'm having a lot of fun, but sometimes too much fun. I'm having public road fun, which comes with risks, comes with danger. I'm one speeding ticket away from possibly having to go back to driving school. The Tracer, even if I rode it faster, somehow just doesn't draw that attention. The last reason, it's a pro and a con. The cable throttle, ABS, and no other features. The pro of that, as I've said in other videos, every time I make it home from a ride, I didn't trust an electronic that could potentially fail. I trusted myself. If I get in a slide, I get out of it. If I'm at the limit, it's me who saves it. Having those lack of features, I must say this bike has 100% made me a better rider. I've gotten better at riding in the last year than I have in the last 5 years. Credit to this bike for lacking those features. Before this bike, I had a Tracer GT. Before that, I had a Street Triple, and those features were nice. And going back to this, it was nice to get back to the grassroots, but now I miss an up and down quick shifter. Now I miss a light clutch. Now I miss traction control. Despite what many people want to believe, in many situations, the electronics are superior to a rider. It's one thing not to focus on. If you're not riding like an a-hole, you perhaps don't need those features. And the slip is fun. It's fun to get the bike a little squiggly. For all those reasons, I'm going to try to stop rambling. It's time for the MT to go. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. I have no regrets buying it. I'm such a better rider because of it, and perhaps maybe one of you should buy it to be a better rider or buy something like this. But that brings me to my final point, what this means to you, the viewer, and why you should not listen to YouTubers' strong opinions. The bikes I'm considering buying, I now have videos of my own first impressions. So there's going to be a YouTuber that's going to convince me you've got to go with the KTM. No, it's the Aprilia. But the Yamaha and the Honda is the da-da-da-da-da. I can look at my own first impressions and compare them. How did I really react? I can remember my own memories of it and what I really want to do. After 15 years of riding, I can think, what did I like? What did I dislike? You're going to get strong opinions from YouTubers about how you don't need the electronics, and they are often wrong for you. You're going to hear that you do, and those can often be wrong for you. But if you invest based on me, if I got a Tracer and you got a Tracer, and then I got an MT, so you sold it for an MT, and then I switched to a Adventure or something, you're doing a disservice to yourself. Stick to the bike that you like. Here's 2 videos telling you why you shouldn't switch bikes. If I had watched my own videos, I probably would still be on a Tracer in all reality, forgetting the financial issues that I was going through. But now I would still probably be selling that Tracer for a more adventure-oriented bike, and then 6 months later regret it and put it with road-focused wheels and tires. You should not invest based on what a YouTuber does. You could be inspired by a YouTuber. I've made some custom parts on some of my bikes. I've done some interesting projects that have inspired some people. If it inspires you, I'm happy I did that. You should not rearrange your life based on what any social media character tells you. They don't know your life. They don't know what they're doing. And I can say on behalf of me, I'm an expert in a very, very small number of things, and not a top-level expert in any of those things. But I talk about a lot of things, many of which I'm not an expert. I've talked about off-roading and my feelings of that. I've only done it once on accident, and it didn't go well. I've talked about things that are not just motorcycling, where I've got an opinion, and I'm not an expert. You're going to listen to podcasts where people tell you the way you've got to think, and it might make sense. But remember, you're usually not listening to a well-researched expert. The way I ride in my videos, I am not a practiced racer. And this is not a racetrack. And you're probably not on a racetrack. And when you do see professional reviewers, a lot of them are professional or ex-professional stuntmen, racers, off-road racers. And they do it for a living, so they've had that amount of practice. You should not think about them. You should not think like that. You should think, what do you actually do? Where do you do it? And what are your values? And stick to that. I would bet, and this is definitely me, but I would bet the fact that we are in the most indebted generation in history largely comes down to the social media look at me. So if you're gonna change your bike, if you're going to buy a new bit of kit, buy it because something is wrong with what you currently have. If you cannot justify something being wrong with your current setup, don't change it. I'm tempted to get a KTM 790 Adventure. So why did I spend my morning watching 890 SMT videos? I'm pre-programming myself to not like my next bike, and that's no good. Now that I've ridden the Honda, I've ridden the Norden 901, I have to compare. I have to think, what was better on this one? What was better on this one? If I'm afraid of the reliability and get the Honda, I'm going to think about the parts of the KTM I don't have. If I get the KTM, every time there's a reliability issue, I'm going to think, I could have been on a Honda. You should be happy with what you have. Watch the entertainment value of you don't ride in West Tokyo. Unless you do, turn off the video, get on your bike. But if you don't, enjoy West Tokyo. Enjoy the adventures. And that's the biggest reason I want an adventure bike. I don't want to keep reviewing and tempting you thinking, the bike you should need, the bike that's good if you need da-da-da-da-da. Don't get a KTM because of me. Don't mistrust a KTM and get a Honda because of me. Get the bike that's good for you, and I want to just show you the cool places in Japan that you've never seen. But ride your ride the way you want to ride it. Ride your bike the way you want to ride it. And if your bike's good enough, don't look at bikes. If your riding setup is good enough, don't open the Amazon page. And don't do anything because a YouTuber told you you should. So till next time, this has been Kaidu Rider. I'm gonna take a break.